Well, hello YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard, and I thought I would just jump on for a little bit. It's very late at night for me, now that I'm on the actual complete other side of the world. And I want to just share something that happened today. I mean, I've been out of the loop. Technologically, I've been out of the loop. I've been in Australia for 2.5 years. And during that time, I was in the state of Queensland, which really, honestly, truly was the best place in the world to be throughout all of the pandemic because we were completely blocked off from the whole world, zero COVID, and nothing was getting in or out. And I had no reason to leave because I was in my perfect. It really was the best time because there was no tourism, so I had all the beaches all to myself and the locals. It was great. So when I came back, I ran into some weird stuff getting a new phone. So getting my phone was weird, and finding out all that, I didn't have 5G or whatever the hell it is that they have now, and I had to get a new phone. And my phone, my new iPhone, keeps asking me to link up all of my money to it so I can just buy everything with my. I mean, that really drove me crazy. Of course, all of the other stuff that you know about that I talk about on my other channels. If you haven't already, if you want to hear me talk uncensored, you have to go to odySee.com and look for me, Thunder Wizard, DOTCOM. Go look for my videos there, or at bitshoot.com. Same thing, look for Thunder Wizard, DOTCOM. If you want me to, if you want to hear me talk uncensored. So I have to censor myself because of the Trusted News Initiative. If you haven't already done so, first order of business is to go Google Trusted News Initiative. There is no such thing as an independent press anymore. There is no such thing as news. There is only propaganda. And so all social media, including YouTube, is completely run by the Trusted News Initiative. So I have to be very careful what I say and how I say it. But, so I've been aware of that. I've been grateful. I escaped Australia. I left just in time, just before they opened the borders. And as I predicted, all hell broke loose and is continuing to break loose. But thinking that I'm back in the United States, I'm trying to have a normal life now. I'm back in my own country. I'm not on a visa, sort of waiting to see if I get to stay or not, because I was always on edge to see if I was going to have to leave the country. So here I am in Florida, and I'm looking around to see where I want to live, and I want to do things like have a car, lease my own car, rent a place, have my own home that I rent. And so today I decided I would go test drive some cars. And I show up at the Chevy dealer, and bear in mind, I've been out of the country for 2.5 years. I've been, driving rental cars this whole time. So I've got the rental car that I got when I got back in the States, and I'm wanting to get rid of that as soon as possible. I go into the Chevy dealership to test drive an SUV, and it's like a ghost town. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing any new cars. There's a bunch. There's not a bunch. There's a handful of used cars, and there's that one or two new cars I see over there. And I'm walking around probably 15 minutes, and no salesman has come out. Now, I'm not used to that. When I go on to a car lot, I am used to one or two salesmen, bolting out of the door, chasing you down, and I make fun of them. I pretend like I'm running away from them. Nobody comes out. It's just crickets. And I'm looking, and I'm not finding any new cars. So I finally walk in. I'm walking around inside the dealership still. Nobody seems to give a crap. Finally, somebody pays attention to me, and I said, I said, where the hell's all your new cars? And he says, you haven't heard? I said, heard what? He said, ever since, for the past 2 years, there's been a chip shortage. I said, what do you mean a chip shortage? And he says, the chips that control the vehicle, we have had, there has been a worldwide shortage of them, that we have to wait for China to give us the chips and then we can make the cars. And I'm like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm like, what are you talking about? We have to wait for China to ship over these microchips? Yeah, and I said, so I'm standing here in a Chevrolet dealership. This is one of the biggest car makers in the world, one of the biggest industry leaders in the world when it comes to automotive. And you're telling me that Chevrolet cannot manufacture its own chip. We have to wait for China to ship us these chips so that then you can make these. Yeah, and they said, yeah. I said, that's it. I've heard it all. I mean, it was this feeling just overcame me of like, am I in a third world country? That's the kind of stuff that goes on in third world countries. They don't have enough of this. They got to wait till they get it from the United States or from, somewhere. So I think this is way too, let's just read. I was like, after talking to them, trying to figure out what they were talking about, I came on and I tried to do some research. So here's an online article from Motor Trend. Let's see. This is December 27th, 2021. So this is just recently. So this is good. So the title of it is, What Happened with the Semiconductor Chip Shortage and How and When the Auto Industry Will Emerge. And then it says the chip shortage crisis is improving but won't be resolved overnight. Does that sound familiar? When the pandemic hit and they came up with the fancy new Disneyland jabs that were supposed to be just the most amazing thing in the world. They said, give us a couple weeks to flatten out the trend, and then we're going to give you sparklers, and it'll be amazing and wonderful, and trust us, this will go away very soon. What are they saying now? Now that we've had fancy, gummy bears, the Cylon upgrade for the past 2 years, some people have had 3 or 4 of them, depending on where you are in the world. And are they saying, yes, things are calming down, it's going to be over soon? No, they're saying, we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to be okay soon, but, not in the near future. It's the same thing. It's going to be fixed. We're going to fix it, just not right now. That's what I'm hearing. This is too convenient. It's too convenient that all of a sudden, we have this political upheaval where you have people completely losing faith on both sides of the aisle. You have people completely losing faith in the United States political system. And let us remind ourselves what the World Economic Forum has to say about all of this. Here are their predictions for 2030. Watch this. So here's this guy, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And he can't contain himself. Whatever you want, you'll rent. And it'll be delivered by drone. In other words, you'll never leave your house. Here's the one. The U.S. won't be the leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. That's very, very significant. They didn't mention any other countries. They mentioned the United States. And this is the World Economic Forum. This isn't coming from the Chinese government. This isn't the Chinese government predicts by 2030. This is the World Economic Forum. This is in Europe. This is supposed to be the Western world. This is supposed to be, Western democratic values and what's that word? Sorry, I just got back from the gym, so I'm kind of loopy. But you know, the idea that you know, the whole Western idea, especially the United States, is you determine your own future. You determine your own wealth. You create your own life, your own business. And here, the World Economic Forum in the Western world, this is more and more seeming like the people in the Western world that have all the money and all the power are making the predictions in the World Economic Forum, and they're saying the United States will no longer dominate. That is huge. I mean, I don't have an attachment. I don't care who dominates or who doesn't, but it's what the United States represents. The United States represents freedom, individuality, freedom of speech, you know, freedom to create your own life. And all of that has gone out the window. And one of the things that the United States is known for is the automotive industry. It was the United States that became the powerhouse of moving the world along, you know, after World War I and especially after World War II. The automotive industry was huge. And here, I go. And then after that, I went to the Jeep Chrysler. Same thing there. They had a couple more new vehicles, but the same thing. It was a ghost town. There was no, you know, almost no new vehicles on the lot, and the same thing. They're waiting around for these chips, and they can't get anything unless the factories get these chips. And so I just find it's very interesting when you hear that. So who are we waiting on? We're waiting on China. And where did the plague come from? It came from China. It's very clear. We know that the United States gave money to those who created the plague. We know that. And at the very same time that we hit this pandemic and we shut down and our economy starts to shut down as well, and our entire way of life completely gets discombobulated. At that very same time, the automotive industry comes to almost a grinding halt and has been that way. It's just too coincidental that the pandemic and China having all of these chips, and supposedly I heard something about some factory burning down. How convenient is that? But then I start thinking, how did we get into the place where the United States, who's supposed to be the, even though they didn't invent the car, people think Americans invented the car. But we acted like it. We certainly invented mass production of cars, automobiles. I mean, and it was the American dream for everybody to own a car. That came from the United States. For the United States to be at the beck and call of China to decide how many chips you get. It's too coincidental. And it is definitely in line with the World Economic Forum. So when it says that the United States will no longer dominate, there will be a handful of countries. At the top of that handful of countries is going to be China. And so this nonsense that the United States has this Cold War with China is complete garbage. Complete garbage. There is no United States anymore. There is no Europe. There is no China. There is no Russia. There are the Reptilian Hoarde who are running the world and are when they say when the World Economic Forum says that the United States will no longer dominate, there will be a handful of countries. What they mean is that there will be a handful of corporations, and these corporations are multinational. So these corporations aren't American corporations or Chinese corporations. You have corporations that are both American and Chinese and British and Russian. And it is a complete, total illusion, manufactured illusion that there are separate countries. Australia is a perfect example. Australia, I was just there. I'm watching what's happening over there, and everything is happening exactly the way I predicted. And Australia is an independent country. They're no longer a part of the British Empire. They are an independent country. They have all of the same things that the United States and everybody else has. They're capable of creating and manufacturing everything that they need. And even though they are an independent country that can create their own vaccines if they wanted to, they've got the technology, they've even got they've created a few already. Instead of saying, hey, United States with your FDA, you guys can do your own thing, you can give out those mRNAs. We've got our own companies, which they do, our own labs, our own companies, and they've already come up with their own vaccines. And we're just going to distribute our own vaccines within our own country. But what do? They literally let the Food and Drug Administration of the United States tell them what to do. There's off-label prescriptions that, as you know, there's a controversy about them. There's off-label prescriptions that are used all over the world to prevent and treat COVID. And it is against the law in Australia for a doctor to prescribe these very effective off-label prescriptions because the Australian government says on their own websites that the FDA, this is the United States regulatory agency, the United States Food and Drug Administration has said that this is not good and you shouldn't do it. Therefore, if you do, we have made it illegal, and if you are an Australian physician and you prescribe medications to your own patients, your license will be taken away from you. In fact, it is against the law in Australia for a physician to tell a patient who may have life-threatening allergies to some of the ingredients within the jab. It is against the law for doctors to say, don't get the jab, you are allergic, it might kill you. If they do that, they will lose their license. Why? Because the Food and Drug Administration told them so. There is no such thing as independent countries anymore. There is the Reptilian Hoarde. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go and find out what I mean by that. And the corporations that own them, that own the media, that's what we have left now. And they are multinational. They are in China, in Russia, in the United States, in the UK, in South Asia, in Australia. They're not, there's no such thing as we have to fight against the Chinese. We are the Chinese are the Americans. There's no difference anymore. Let me just show you again, there's some people, again, who believe that that there's this fight between Trump and Biden. Those of you who think that January 6th of last year was not a government plot. Those of you who think that Trump was somehow fighting against the elites. Let me play for you what Trump has said just recently. This is coming from Trump himself, and of course it's being played to you on CNN, of all places. So here's CNN. By the way, Joseph Biden just recently applauded Trump for his support of the vaccine. And as you know, many Republicans, there's a large number of Republicans who are vaccine hesitant, shall we say. And they pro-Trump people who are also anti-jab. And they believe that Trump is their hero. And here's Trump talking about it. Let's just go ahead and listen to this story. Let's see what it says here.
You want to make sure the joinery you use on your water can...
All right, that's just an ad. Let's get through the stupid ads here. All right.
A very minor form.
Okay, here we go.
Is Donald Trump no longer lockstep with his base? If you need proof that his call and response relationship of those 2016 rallies isn't what it once was, take a look at this.
Yeah, more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how...
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine. But it's still their choice. And if you take the vaccine, you're protected.
Did you hear that? Is that what most Republican Trump lovers believe? And here is Trump himself saying it. So if you are under the impression that there's this Trump faction that is pushing against the elites and the deep state, you are sadly misinformed, shall we say.
The results of the vaccine are very good. And if you do get it, it's a very minor form. People aren't...
He said, does that sound like what you hear from most Trump anti-jab supporters?
When they take the vaccine.
Traditional political wisdom is to play up your accomplishments, and the vaccines certainly are that for Trump. So the advice he's getting directly from people like Bill O'Reilly makes perfect sense to me.
I told him that today. He called me. And I said, this is good for you. This is good that people see another side of you, not a political side. You told the truth. You believe in the vax. Your administration did it.
He's right. It was Trump that got the jabs out there. The jabs that we have now are because of Trump, not because of Biden.
And you should take credit for it because it did save, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of lives.
But just this week, O'Reilly saw firsthand that some Trump loyalists don't like hearing that he got the booster.
Trump's been boosted. Bear in mind, Trump had COVID, got monoclonal antibodies, recovered, which means that according to the CDC, he had complete immunity from COVID, and yet he has gotten vaccinated and boosted. Does that sound like something a Trump loyalist would want to hear?
Both the president and I are vaxxed, and did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too. Okay, so...
No. That's all. There's a very tiny group over there.
Scott Jennings.
All right, so there you have it. This nonsense idea that there is us versus the Chinese, Trump versus Biden, is nonsense. It's time for everybody to wake up. This is a worldwide thing. There is no such thing as government anymore. There is no such thing as the Constitution. There's no such thing as free speech. There's no such thing as free journal, a free and independent press. And there's also no such thing as United States dominance in the automotive industry. I believe that this is the World Economic Forum's plan to choke off the United States so that it cannot dominate. Like it said, the United States will no longer dominate. There will be a handful of countries will dominate. So let's go ahead and read. Again, I heard about this today. I've been completely out of the loop. And now let's read this article from Motor Trend. What happened with the semiconductor chip shortage? How and when will the auto industry will emerge? It says, grab a soda and your new car wish list and start shopping. More semiconductor chips are coming in 2022. And slowly but surely, the chip shortage horror movie will fade to black. Yay, right? No. Does that mean 2022 will necessarily be a blockbuster year for inventory? But the global microchip shortage is expected to continue to improve, which should mean less or no downtime for automakers desperate to build more vehicles to fill orders and depressingly empty dealer lots. Bottom lines have also taken a hit with billions in lost revenue, and automakers affected the most have also grappled with lost market share. So are you aware of how much money is lost because of this? This is a huge part of the American economy. Before I left, in fact, for almost a year before I left, I remember I was driving this new Toyota CHR. Is that right? Coupe high-rise. The CHR. It was a great little crossover SUV, and I really enjoyed it. And I walked onto the Toyota lot, and there were 5 or 6 of them, all different colors. And I sat there and said, which color do I want? And that's what it was like to buy a car before the pandemic. You could go onto a car lot, and whatever car you were looking for, they would have it, and there would be 4, 5, 6 of them, all different models, different colors. And it wasn't, could you find the car you wanted? It was, which one did you want? Did I want that color or that color? Did I want all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive? Did I want the 4-cylinder or the 6-cylinder? And now, so do you realize how much money is being lost? They were trying to sell me used cars because they just didn't have any new cars on the lot. And I started thinking seriously about it. And I felt like I was in another country. I felt like I was in some third world country that doesn't get new cars. And I had to pick, it was like in Cuba. I had to take the used one, the rebuilt used car. It's the weirdest thing. And it's just too coincidental. It's all designed to get rid of your ability to feel as though again, for the United States, why haven't I heard this? Why haven't I heard this on the news? Maybe some of you have. I haven't heard it on news. I haven't seen it anywhere on any social media. Why have I not heard Trump, of all people? Why have I not heard Trump stand up and say, what the heck is going on? We are the world's leader in car manufacturers. I am going to sign an executive order to get those chips made in the... You don't hear any of that. So those of you who think that Trump is out there trying to get back your power, you guys are losing it. There is no... Trump and Biden are in bed together with China and Russia and everybody else. Let's keep reading. The industry is holding its collective breath, meaning the automotive industry. The industry is holding its collective breath that things won't backslide. And while shortages are projected to last into 2023 or longer, so not just into 2022, but into 2023, what does it sound like? It sounds like Omicron. Oh, we're getting through Delta. We've got the booster. We're going to, oh my God, Omicron. Now what? Oh, let's mask up and yeah. They start off this article with, we're almost out of this, but no, it's going to go on after next year, after 2023. We're still going to be begging China to give us these microchips that we probably invented. While shortages are projected to last into 2023 or longer and may prove to be endemic, the hope is they will be more manageable as chip makers increase capacity. Where? In China. And automakers find ways to make cars with fewer chips or use more of the higher tech wafers that are more plentiful. Here's the thing I don't understand. The frightening thing is, I'm old enough to remember when there was no such thing as anything even remotely like having a chip in your car. But if these chips are so powerful, these little tiny microchips are so powerful, I have a hard time believing that there isn't somebody somewhere that can just simply push a button and turn your car off if they feel like it. I have a hard time believing that there isn't somebody somewhere who can listen to you drive, listen to what you say in your car, track where you go. This whole idea of having a chip in your car is the whole idea of it. And to have something that small have the power to completely cripple one of the most powerful industries in the United States that is part of its huge economic engine, not only in the United States, but around the world because of, American cars that are shipped off to other countries. It's very disturbing. Let's see. Consumers also need a break from high prices, few incentives, empty showrooms, long delivery times, delayed vehicle launches. Let me see if I see anything else here that sounds at all interesting other than what I've just said. I don't see any more. How did this happen, it says. Let's see. I haven't read this far yet. The crisis dates to March 2020, the exact time that what? The vaccine was released. Exact same time. Is that coincidental? It's too coincidental for me. The crisis dates to March 2020 when the pandemic forced automakers to shut down plants and temporarily halt orders from suppliers. At the same time, the electronics industry faced increased demand for cell phones, televisions, computers, games, and home appliances from customers abiding by stay-at-home orders. Chip makers rerouted their supply to the electronics industry, which also showed a willingness to pay more for the silicon wafers. When the auto industry came back online faster than expected in the summer of 2020, it found the chips needed weren't available, and suppliers were content to keep their more lucrative contracts with others. Again, why doesn't Chevy, GMC, Ford, why don't they have their own chip manufacturing plants? Why? Doesn't make any sense. More setbacks from fire and COVID, it says. The road to recovery has been bumpy. A fire at the Renesas electronics chip-making plant in Japan in March brought production to a halt, and it was half a year before it was fully ramped up again. Ford was among the automakers heavily dependent on the Renesas plant for its chip supply. COVID-19 outbreaks and lockdowns in the fall in sparsely vaccinated Southeast Asian. Did you notice how they linked vaccination with chip production? Is that a coincidence? Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam, where the chips are tested and packaged, further disrupt production. General Motors Chair CEO Mary Barra said she is cautiously optimistic with the situation will improve in 2022. In other words, they have no idea. Oh yeah, no, then this new the new booster will be fine. The new booster will take care of the problem. I can't tell you when or how, but we're confident this new booster will do it. General Motors Chair and CEO Mary Barra said she is cautiously optimistic that the situation will improve with the second half of the year better than the first 6 months in terms of supply, but she expressed concerns that the Omicron variant will cause a repeat of the Delta spread that forced the shutdown of the plants in Southeast Asia. Is this a coincidence? I think not. The Omicron variant that has proven to be little more than a cold, according to everybody. It's just too convenient. All right, so that's it. I just needed to go on here and vent. I don't plan on staying on long tonight because it's way past my bedtime. But if there are any questions, I'll take them. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. You can go check out his website. He's a great astrologer. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. If you want your own .thunderwizard.com, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. And if you pass the test, I will promote your website if you want to look into that. So, Craig Greathouse says there are little thousands. I think he means literally. There are literally thousands of Chevy trucks being built in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they are all sitting in huge hundreds of acres in the weather, waiting on that chip. Let's see. Okay, some other stuff that I can't talk about on because of the Trusted News Initiative. They are looking to make the chips in India or in the U.S., but that is at least 3 years away. Why? Why is the United States not capable? I mean, listen, if this were 30, 40, 50 years ago, if there was anything like this going on, the United States says, we can build it ourselves. We invented this crap. We invented science and cars. We can do this ourselves. We don't, you know, we used to make fun of Japan. When I was a kid, we made fun of anything that came from Japan. Anything that came from Japan was hinky and it didn't work very well and it wasn't built well and it broke. We made fun of it. When cars first started being built in Japan, we made fun of them. They were little, and they were, you know, like my first car was a Toyota pickup in when was that? 1980 something. It was a great car, but all it was this tiny little pickup that had this little 4-cylinder engine back before 4 cylinders were what they are now. It was a manual transmission. It was manual steering. And I remember doing things like this to turn the car sometimes because there was no power steering in it. It was a great car. It ran really well. You know, I had to buy a stereo and a little cassette player to be able to play music in it. And the thing didn't need any maintenance. I mean, I barely even, you know, changed the oil. There was nothing. Brake pads, clutch, oil, that was it. And I drove that thing into the ground. Literally, the seats were just completely torn all out because, you know, I'd been, you know, and it still ran really good. But that was the beginning of the Japanese car revolution. And now, you know, we get cars from Korea, from Japan, you know, who knows where else. And the United States is now, we even, you know, we farm that stuff out. There's a lot of vehicles that have United States car brands on them, and they're made in other places with other technology, you know. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm just saying, this is just such a weird, just the idea that the United States can't decide, we're going to make that stuff here. It was an American value to never be dependent on any outside country. That was an American value. What the hell has happened to the world? What has happened to the United States? I'm not doing this because I'm, you know, hey, go USA. I'm saying this is what's called planned obsolescence. There was something that happened, another thing that happened with cars, again, in the 80s, American cars. One of the things that happened with American cars is there was this, what was called planned obsolescence. I remember in the 80s, I had a hand-me-down from my mom. My mom's Pontiac. It was an American-made car, and I had it. And as soon as it got past the warranty period, I'm not kidding you, the moment that it passed the mile number for the warranty, it started falling apart. Not just falling apart, like I remember grabbing the handle for the door and it coming off in my hand. I remember it was a manual transmission. I remember putting the thing in gear and the top of it came off in my hand. The thing was literally exploding from the inside out. And when you looked at it, the way that they used these plastic screws to put it in, you can see they were meant to explode from the inside. Somebody somewhere in the United States auto industry sat there and designed the cars to fall apart right around 35,000 miles so that you would go out and buy a new one. And then the Japanese cars started, people started, that's when Toyota started going through the roof, because the Japanese cars were well built, as they are today. People talk about Hondas and Toyotas. They're dependable. Why? Because the American cars were built to fall apart. I remember when all this happened. Maybe some of you are too young to remember that. What else? So no more questions. If you have a question, the way it works is you write the word question in all caps so that I can see it. You ask me a question that you don't have the answer to, and I'll be happy to help you if I can. I'm not seeing that here, people throwing their opinion. So TP, the way you ask a question is what I just said. So you're probably new to the channel. Welcome. You don't know any better. But from here on out, if you have a question, write the word question in all caps so that when I scroll past all of the noise, people spouting their opinion or just dropping a comment, I will get to your question. You say, what was the experience like in Australia and getting out of the country briefly? My experience, as I said, was awesome. But I was in Queensland. Queensland was completely, totally walled off from the rest of the country and the rest of the world. We had zero COVID. I was blissfully ignorant and happy. I was empty, beautiful tropical beaches, surfing. You can watch me. I mean, you can the whole time. I had no idea what the hell was going on in the world. And I'm glad, because if I had, I would have been miserable. And it wasn't until just before I started leaving, when I heard that they were going to open the borders, I went, oh, well, then I better figure out what am I going to do about this COVID thing. And that's when I started looking into it and finding out all the things that I've found out, which I can't talk about on this channel. I got out, but I won't be able to get back in ever. I don't know if they'll ever let me back in. So I kind of have to forget about Australia, maybe unless the world changes again. William Wallace said, I own 3 Pontiacs. Yeah, but how long ago? It wasn't in the 80s or the 90s, was it? It was like the 60s, 70s. That's when American cars were good. Thundra Staves Rangel, for some reason, Thundra, whenever you put your website, it doesn't pop up. So try without spaces. So thundra.thunderwizard.com. You should go check her out. She is also an astrologer and a rune reader, and a very powerful wizard dress in her own way. So go check that out. thundra.thunderwizard.com. Let's see. Cheryl Whitestone question. What do you do for a living? Why are you asking me this? The kinds of questions I want from you have to do with what I teach. So welcome to the channel. I encourage you to watch the videos and see if there's anything there that you want to learn from. How does you knowing that, how does that help you? But you're looking at part of what I do for a living. What do you see all these links up here? They're there for a reason. This is one of the ways that I make a living. These kinds of personal questions make me uncomfortable because they're usually passive aggressive and somebody's trying to find info so that they can then say something nasty and troll. I'll let it pass now, but I'd prefer that you focus the questions on what I teach, not on what underarm deodorant I wear. William Wallace question, what is your take on living parallel lives? You don't have to scream at me in all caps, just the word question. You don't have to scream the question at me. What is your take on living parallel lives? I don't know what you mean by that. Is that anything I've taught? If you want to go to that subject, yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. Again, if you stick to the things I teach, I'll be more likely to respond. So while we're on that, listen, listening to me talk is about 2% of what this channel is about. If you really want to know what this channel is about, you go to thunderwizard.com, scroll around and subscribe and do the work. Do the energy practices that I teach you so that you also can become a Dr. Manhattan. Listening to me talk, I know that this is a very popular subject and people just, our YouTube is going to draw in a lot of people, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk about this to get you to do the work. The way out of the digital matrix is to change your energy body. And the only way to change your energy body so that cannot be hacked into is to change it from the lightning center of the heart. And I don't know anybody else that is teaching this publicly other than I am. This stuff, the Mao Shan, is the most powerful energy practice in my experience, and I've tried a lot of different things. ThunderWizard.com is my subscription site where you get hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of detailed instruction in all kinds of things. And then, of course, you can go to courses.thunderwizard.com to see all the things that I do here. So this channel is really just the tip of the iceberg, and the talking is almost nothing. It's pretty much meaningless. It's doing the work to change you. That's what I'm here to do. If you've gotten onto this channel and you want to avoid all of that and you want to become a Dr. Manhattan, go do the work. Look in my channel. There's plenty of free stuff. Look at the energy work. Look at the Qigong. Look at the rituals. Look at all of that. That's really what I'm here to help you with. And that is what's going to give us the power to come out of this. Nothing else. All of the talking is meaningless if we don't do the work to change our energy bodies. What else? Aussie girl. Question, how long did you spend in Australia? As I said, 2.5 years. I just got out. I've been here been back in the United States since the 7th. So I got out just before Queensland opened up their borders and just before all of the crazy hell that's going on there. It was going on in other places like Victoria and in Sydney, but where I was, in the Sunshine Coast, the northern part of the Sunshine Coast between Coolum and Noosa, just absolute utter paradise. I have cried many hours, literally, because I had to leave. I still find myself wiping a tear every now and then, thinking about, I wish I could go back there, but we'll see. I may never be able to go back there. What else? Is that it? Cheryl Whitestone asked a question, and for some reason it didn't get on there, but let's see. It's kind of a strange question. Again, a question is this. You have a question about something that I teach that you don't understand, that you think I might have the answer to. Asking me other kinds of questions is not a question. What kind of underarm deodorant do you wear? What do you think of Joe Biden's hairdo? These things are not really the kinds of questions I'm looking for. So Cheryl Whitestone asked a question which, Cheryl, that's not what we do here. I appreciate that you have that, but this is not an excuse for you to sell your website. So that's not helpful to me, and it's not helpful. This is a classroom. You are in my classroom. You don't walk into somebody else's classroom and say, hey, guys, I got a classroom on the other side of campus. I'd love to see you over there. You don't do that. So I didn't delete your message, but I would have for that reason. It shows disrespect to me, to my students, and to what I'm doing here. You're welcome here, but let's stay on topic here. So, all right, William Wallace, if you cuss, YouTube will automatically delete your comment. That's why your comment didn't show up. What else? TP question. What are your thoughts on the UK at the moment? Same thing. What's the difference? UK, Australia, Austria, Germany, France. I mean, it's all the same. The United States is slightly different because half of the states in the United States are taking Biden to court. And I'm in Florida for a reason. It's true that Florida has warm weather. It's very nice. In fact, it's very warm right now. I don't have the heat or the air conditioning on because it's so comfortable. Um, and there's warm water, and there is surfing. It's not the kind of surfing I would like to experience on a regular basis. It's a little small, but yeah, I'm here for that, and I'm here because it's tropical and it's warm, and mainly I'm here because I don't have to do anything. I hope I never have to wear another mask again. I refuse to do it. If things get desperate and I end up having to go to Costa Rica to get some decent surfing, I might have to wear a mask to get on a plane. But if I have anything to say about it, I'm never going to wear a mask again. And obviously, I am not jabbed, and I want to be someplace safe where there is little danger that some governor or some prime minister or some premier or is gonna or some mayor is going to decide to demand that I have to follow certain protocols which are nobody's business. And this is one of the few places in the world right now where you can do that. So that's why I'm here. What else? William Wallace, in all caps, screams, "Not screaming at you, sir." Agent of the Universe question: do you believe the new year will get better? I would like to believe so. Based on some Vedic astrologers, the 31st, coming up here very soon, there is something going on astrologically which could be very volatile. There might be some big upheavals. Some people believe that the next few months of the next year will be the beginning of the Great Awakening. I would love to believe that. Based on what I experienced today, again, people don't think this through. I mean, the car salesman that I was talking to, they just saw it as this sort of chip shortage, and I just said, "You really, Chevrolet can't make their own chips. You don't find that to be disconcerting. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Very bad. Very bad for the whole world economy. Not that America needs to be the leader of the world. It just means that there was somebody was talking about, and it was really great, turnkey authoritarianism. Turnkey communism. What they meant by that was that turnkey authoritarianism is you spend years taking over tiny little bits of the economy and of society, and you slowly start to creep in there. You let everything go on as it always has until you're ready to pull the switch. And then once you pull the switch, you end up in control of everything. And that's exactly what happened. The moment that the drug companies started making public policy through the regulatory agencies that are supposed to be, policing the drug companies, the moment that the drug companies start telling everybody what to do, like the FDA can tell Australia what to do, the moment that happens, they've pulled the switch. And now, instead of having countries and economies, we have a corporatocracy that's ruling the world. That's what's happening now. It's not going to happen. It's already happened, and it happened without myself and many other people even seeing it. They just didn't see it coming. Behind the scenes, somebody pulled a switch. Wuhan. Somebody pulled a switch, and next thing you know, Biden is doing things that no United States president has ever done in the history of the United States. And you have authoritarian communism, corporatocracy running the world. What else? JX, do me a favor. There's a couple things. You're new to the channel. Number one, if you have a question, you write the word question. Look, you'll see people writing the word question in all caps. They're getting my attention. Second thing is, before you ask a question, make sure that your question is intelligent. It means that you've spent time on my channel, watching my videos, knowing what it is that we do here. Throwing out these very simple, superficial questions, to be honest, it sounds like you're just kind of bored and you got nothing better to do. So asking me a question about, and you're not even asking how to open the third eye. You're not even writing a full sentence in there. Can you recommend some music? Again, I recommend you spend time on my channel. You haven't even looked on my channel to see if I have a video about opening the third eye, which I do. So let me tell everybody another thing that needs to happen if you want to get the most out of my channel. You must learn how to search from within the channel. Many people don't know how to do that. They type in the bar above, which is YouTube. So if you type in open the third eye, YouTube's going to give you, whatever, is out there, the billions of channels. You want to see what videos I have about opening the third eye? You have to go to my YouTube channel page, thunderwizard.com YouTube channel page. Thunderwizard, DOTCOM. And then you're going to have to find a pull down menu, or you're going to look for the little magnifying glass, which is searching within the channel. And then you type in whatever it is you want. Third eye, the matrix, whatever. So that's my recommendation for you, JX. Put some time and effort to see what I got here. Don't just throw out these superficial questions. You're new to the channel, so you don't know any better. But now you know how to get the most out of my channel. And it's best to ask me about what I'm talking about today. If I'm talking about a subject right now, ask me about that subject. That's going to get the best response from me. What else? I don't see any questions here. Very good. All right, that's it for me, guys. Yes, welcome to the channel. Those of you who are new, my apologies if my directness and harshness has been offensive. I am here to help, and it is my hope that everybody listening to me can find it within them to resist against the horrific genocide that is happening right now, and the attempt to upload your consciousness to the matrix, and the attempt to get you away from your own power. I'm hoping I can help you to find that again, remembering that resistance is not futile. Let's see, is there a question that just came up? No, it got, somebody deleted it once they put it up there. All right, that's it for me then. It's past midnight, so it's way past my bedtime. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care. I will see you all next time. Stay safe, and remember, resistance is not futile.